and see if my fat ass can ride this thing. What is up, beautiful people of YouTube? So we were up here at Hughes Motorsports today, and they're having an Indian demo day. Everything's going on over there, but they got a bunch of music playing, and I don't want YouTube to demonetize this video, so I stepped to the side. But we're gonna go and ride. They have almost the entire lineup out here. I don't see a Challenger, but it doesn't mean they don't have one. So I'm really excited to go ride all these bikes. There's been several things added to the Indian lineup in the last few years that I've never rode, so should be a fun day. Alrighty, so I'm on a 2023 Sport Chief, and we're getting ready to go out, see what this thing's all about. This has the 10-inch risers on it. I like the height. Ooh. If I can find the brakes on it. Not used to these mids. So the first thing that stands out to me is the mids kind of put my hips in a bind, which is a problem I have with a lot of mids. Holy power, Batman, that thing goes. I don't even know what's, oh, it's on sport mode. Okay, this thing excels like you wouldn't believe. It's a very aggressive riding stance with these mids. Holy crap, dude. This right here is just instantly rolls on a lot more power than my Springfield does. Or at least it feels like it does. Handling, I feel like my Springfield probably handles a little bit better. This doesn't really throw side to side that well. Let's see if she dances. Oh yeah. This little fairing does pretty good. I don't feel a whole lot of air pressure on my chest, but still my head gets enough airflow to be comfortable. Not enough that I'm sitting here bobbling around. A lot of these small fairings, you know, they buff it so bad, but I'm not picking up on that with this one. I wish the bars pulled back a little further, but again, this is supposed to be like this real aggressive club style. Indian has done something to these that makes the clutch much lighter than that on the Springfield that I currently own, or any of the Indians I've owned for that. That's one thing Indian's always done really well, is every model year there are improvements. So a 2016 has stuff a 2015 didn't have, and a 2018 has been reworked and refined more so than the 2016 or 2017 has. And so even though the bikes themselves don't look like they've changed a lot, Indian is constantly refining these. This little display here, there is a lot of information on this display. Exhaust needs a louder exhaust. I mean, stock pipes always sound like crap, but looks like we have lost our group. So we're almost back to the dealership. Overall, I really like this bike. I just wish the handlebars had some more pullback to them, and the exhaust a bit louder. This sport mode, it's fun, but if you're trying to maintain a low speed, it is way too touchy. So I feel like the sport mode might have some limited use to it. At least my opinion there, but who knows. Alrighty, now we're going out on the Super Chief Limited. This is like a really small version of my Springfield. This time it's on tour mode instead of sport mode. So we're gonna see how this goes. It's got a much better, it's got forward controls with floorboards. This bike feels so incredibly small compared to my Springfield. I like the throttle response on this tour mode better than the sport mode. It's I feel like I've got more control of the bike. This windshield, I think it's a little bit goofy looking. And these bars, they're big, wide beach bars. The bars aren't uncomfortable, and the windshield is doing a good job. I just don't know if I'm real big on the look that it is, that it has. There's no buffeting at all, but at the same time, like, my face is sweating. I feel like I'm getting no airflow. Whereas on the Sport Chief, my face, I felt like I had good airflow. And they just kind of have us doing these test rides ourselves. Like, nobody's leading this. They gave us a printout of a route, and they're just sending us out to go. So every now and then you'll see a group of riders head out, but overall, I don't dislike this bike, but I would never trade my Springfield for one of these. I don't know. It feels really small, and it just doesn't, like, as far as a touring bike, like, this might be a great touring bike for like a small woman, but if you're a average sized human, I don't know, it seems a little underwhelming size wise and comfort wise for a touring bike. Yeah, I'm just not crazy about how this bike feels in the corners, and I don't know. Like, it's definitely throws better than the Sport Chief did, and it's a more comfortable seating position to me than the Sport Chief. But at the same time, it also feels like it doesn't want to drive into the corners as hard as that Sport Chief does. Alrighty, so Chief Bobber this time. We'll try this out. Again, this one's got forwards, but the pegs are just so damn tiny on this thing. We'll see how this goes. I like these mini apes. Got a little bit better pullback than the Sport Chief had. No fairing. Alrighty. So, I found it interesting so far how different all the different models of the Chief are. So, like, when you ride a lot of the Harley models, they just don't seem that different from model to model. So far, all the different variations of the Chief that I've rode have their very own distinct feel, and I'm really digging it. Wasn't a huge fan of the Super Chief, but let's see how this bobber goes. So far, I like the throttle response on this the most. This is the most similar to my Springfield as far as throttle response. It's not too much like the sport mode on the Sport was, and it's not too retarded like the tour mode on the Super Chief. Now, I know I can change the modes on those, but I'm trying to just ride the bikes as they are when I get on them. This one is in standard mode, and it's got the forwards. I really like this setup. This is more of my riding style right here.
Bike throws back and forth real nice, feels real nimble. Again, this would not replace my Springfield, but I could happily ride this bike around town all day. Needs a saddleman seat. All these stock Indian seats are just far too soft. Just in the 15-minute little rides we're going on, I can feel my tailbone getting sore already from all these soft seats. I just really prefer a nice firm saddleman seat. Coming through the roundabout, this bike just feels so similar to my Springfield, but it's like half the size and has the same, well, this has 116, I've got a 111, but essentially the same engine and just a much smaller, more nimble package. I can't say more nimble, it feels about just as nimble. That's one thing Indian's really gotten right on their touring bikes, is a bike of that size just feels so agile. Like you could just bob and weave and do switchbacks all day long with zero problems. Oh yeah. I just don't think that this hits as hard as my Springfield does. I don't know if Indian like retarded the timing on these a little bit or what. I feel like my Springfield pulls harder. So overall, I like this bike. I would buy this bike, and it looks like if you get it in black, it is only $16,500, which not a bad price for what this bike is. Alrighty, so this time we're taking out the Chieftain Dark Horse 116. Familiar Indian feel right now. It almost feels just like my Roadmaster did. Yeah, these big touring Indians just throw so much better than those small Indians do. Whatever Indian's done to these bikes, they're definitely better in this big touring setup. They just handle like a dream. Yeah, like this right here, I'd have a hard time telling you that this was not my Roadmaster. This thing just, oh, love it. It throws so well. Wish the bars were just a little bit higher. Feel like I'm steering with my hands down by my knees, but most bikes you're gonna have to change seats and you're gonna have to change handlebars and exhaust. This stock seat is a lot more comfortable than the other stock seats I've sat on so far today, but it's still just entirely way too soft. Okay, see how the big girl dances through the roundabout. Oh yeah, tips in like a dream, comes over, yes. Like you just can't argue with how nice that feels coming through a corner. Yeah, just glides, man. Oh. Man, I love the way an Indian touring bike handles. It's just so... The only word I can really use is amazing. If you've never rode one, you need to get out to one of these demo days and really try it. It's something magical when you get into the twisties on a bike this large and it can handle so well. And the suspension on the touring lineup, just an absolute dream. Like this road's fairly bumpy and I don't feel any of it, whereas with the other bikes I've rode today, you could feel it. It wasn't abusive, but you could definitely feel it. Like but this is just a night and day difference. But this is also a $13,000 more expensive motorcycle. So I don't know how to really explain it, but if you've ever rode on a bike that just feels like it's doing all the work for you, that's what these Indian touring bikes feel like. They're literally just doing all the work for you. And the exhaust note on these bikes is just amazing compared to the smaller counterparts with the same engine. You do get a fair amount of buffeting at highway speeds with a smaller windscreen, but I would put a Clockworks on here anyways, one of their flipped up windshields. It gives you a real nice comfortable pocket to ride in. Well, no surprise overall. I love the Chieftain, and if I was on the market for a full fairing bagger, I would probably not hesitate to buy this bike.
Alrighty, so I just took the Challenger out and my GoPro decided to not work because it's too hot out. GoPros are wonderful, aren't they? And obviously that semi needed to use a Jake brake going uphill because that makes sense. Anyways, Challenger. I wanted to like it, I really did, and I just didn't. The pros, it's got power for days. The thing just has amazing power, and however, whatever you can give the bike, it keeps asking for more. Other than that, it just doesn't have any character to it. If I could put that Power Plus 108 in another Indian bike, I would be so much happier with it. But the bike just literally, to me, had no character, and it was almost like riding in a car. So they tell you don't meet your heroes, and I guess that's somewhat true. I really wanted to like the Challenger, and ultimately I didn't. So I got the GoPro working again, got it to cool off, so hopefully here soon I'll get to ride the FTR. Other than that, I haven't rode a Scout yet, and I haven't rode the Springfield, but I own a Springfield, so I'm not really that worried about riding one. So I guess I'm gonna wait for the FTR to get back, and we're gonna go out and ride some more. My GoPro keeps shutting down from the heat, but I'm finally getting out on the FTR. Let's see if my fat ass can ride this thing.
So unfortunately, my microphone didn't work properly for some reason while I was riding the FTR. So my experience with the FTR, the bike has great power, but I am not built for this style of bike. It's a style of bike that I am interested in, but unfortunately, I'm not built for these kind of bikes. Having my legs tucked behind me put my hips in a serious bind, and it was very uncomfortable for me, and I couldn't get comfortable on the bike, so I wasn't comfortable pushing myself on the bike. I wasn't confident in my ability to shift or even brake. I was also wearing some big boots that also just did not work well with the sport bike style of controls on the FTR. But overall, it seemed like a very well-made bike and had great features. Everyone I talked to loved it. I wanted to love it. I can't say that I hate it because honestly, I can't give it a honest review. So perhaps I will attempt to ride one again and have some better footwear on, and maybe it'll work out. But as for this time, sorry, that's all I got for you guys.
Okay, so the GoPro is working again. This time we are out on a Scout 60 Rogue. So it's got 10-inch apes, little fairing. This is the 60, so it's only a 5-speed. This is a pretty good beginner bike, from what I understand. So let's see if it lives up to the hype. First impressions is that bike accelerates pretty hard for only being 60 cubic inches. Definitely way more power than an Evo Sportster. I haven't rode any of the new Sportsters, so I can't tell you what those are like. Doesn't feel as nimble as the big bikes. Got to work a little harder for it. That might have something to do with this little fat front tire. Seating position's good. The seat sucks, as it has with every bike I've been on so far. But the forward controls on it, again, it's this like forward +2 is what it would be in like the or mid +2 is what I meant. Is what it would be in the Harley world. So it's like not quite a forward and not quite a mid. It's kind of an in-between, but I really dig it. It's a comfortable position. We're coming up on the first roundabout, and that's where usually I can tell in a roundabout if I'm gonna like a bike or not, because I like to ride hard. I like to get over hard in roundabouts, and if a bike doesn't feel good in a roundabout, then there's a good chance I'm just not gonna like it. The little fairing, it keeps some air off your chest, but it's more for looks than very much function. But that's okay. I do like airflow. That's why I went back to a Springfield. Woo! Scraped her, and I was not over very far when she scraped. So, just going off that first roundabout, I want to like this bike. I really do. It's got so many like redeeming qualities, but going through that roundabout really sucked, and I was not over far when it dragged. Say, power-wise, I definitely don't feel like I'm on an underpowered bike. I feel like I could hang out with guys on touring bikes all day long, and I wouldn't feel like they were outrunning me. I mean, obviously, the comfort would wear on me. Like, this seat is very, very small. I love the amount of airflow I get on this bike. There's no buffeting. I mean, it does highway speeds pretty easily. Say, if somebody told me that they were looking to buy their first bike and they were thinking about getting an Indian Scout, I would have no issues at all with that. I'd be like, that is the perfect first bike. It's not a bike, like, especially with Sportsters, it's often like, well, you know, in 6 months you're going to outgrow that bike, which is not entirely true, but it's true for a lot of people. I feel like this bike a year later would still just be fun to ride. You have to be realistic with what this bike is. Like, obviously, you're not, I mean, you could go cross country on this, but it's not the bike that's designed for that. Obviously, you could always throw some saddlebags and a bigger fairing or something on this, or a windshield, but I feel like this might beat on you a bit trying to ride this thing cross country, but you could definitely do it. I mean, I like choppers, so obviously I'm a glutton for punishment. Yeah, but nothing about this bike screams to me like this is a beginner-only bike, which a lot of people seem to think that, you know, Scouts and Sportsters are. This could be the bike that you buy as your first bike, and you ride it forever. Or, you know, until you just completely wear the bike out. This liquid-cooled engine, man, it runs pretty cool. I'm not feeling any kind of heat. It needs an exhaust. It sounds a little bit like a weed eater, not gonna lie to you guys there. And like I've already said, and I've said with every single bike, the stock seat is just a tailbone hammering piece of crap.
Okay, so I made it back to the shop. I didn't shoot a whole lot of video at the event because, like I said early in the video, they had music playing all day, and our YouTube overlords really frowned on that. But had a really good day. Got to meet a lot of people, talk to people, met some fellow YouTubers, and got to ride the entire Indian lineup, basically. I did not ride a Springfield or a Roadmaster because I am intimately knowledgeable with those bikes. Overall, the Scout, I love the Scout. It's just really a fabulous beginner bike. The Chief lineup, they were all wonderful, but my favorite was the Chief Bobber. If I was going to buy any of the new Chief lineup, it would be the Chief Bobber. I've just found that bike to be the best balance of power and comfort and features out of all, and price point as well. But everything was great. Challenger let me down. I don't know. I guess I thought it would be better than what it was. Don't get me wrong, the bike is extremely capable, but to me it just lacked any real character. And the FTR, I can't say that I don't like it, and I can't say that I do like it. It was a fun bike. It was my first time riding that style of bike, so I can't do that bike any justice. I was like a fish out of water, and I did my best I could with it. It took me a little bit of riding it to even be able to use the rear brake without feeling like I was going to dislocate my hip. So, who knows? I would still like an FTR. It's a bike that I find interesting, so maybe one day. But that's going to wrap this video up. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Please do me a big favor, give this video a thumbs up, comment below, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And while you're down there, there's links to all of our social media as well as our company website, hotheadstalls.com, where we make and sell everything for horses right here in the USA. I will see you all in the next one. I love you all. I'm out of here.